On today's episode of Fly Hacks, we're going to be going through some hook choices for musky flies, as well as tying a fly called the X-tail, which is essentially Brad Bowen's hang time with a very slight variation. What is this doing here? Why is there a vise in front of me? I don't tie flies. Hooks. There's so much debate about these stupid things. I just want to give you a few hooks that of choice that are just excellent hooks overall. Without further ado, here are some hook choice options. Gamakatsu B10S, excellent. The advantage of the design, it's got a lower bend than the point. When you set the hook, you're driving that hook point. The only thing I don't like about it is it's not quite large enough. I feel like you're going to tear through the flesh of a fish with a wire that's that small. But it's cheap and extremely effective. That hook will get you places. An Owner 5103. This is like the utility hook because you can buy a million of these for like $5. Its greatest advantage is its greatest downfall. The gap of the hook is open. See, it's going to be at a different angle than the shank of the hook. So what happens is you drive really deep, but it takes a whole lot of force to drive that deeply. But it's a great utility hook if you're tying a whole bunch of flies or you're testing flies. That's the one to use. Tiemco 600 SP. Great hook. All that I really don't like about this hook is the fact that the point is curved. That hook point wants to shovel its way right back out of wherever it went into. Because of the gap of the hook, you literally attached to parts of the fish. One of the advantages is it's got great wire. The wire is very strong. Because of the size of the wire, they had to elongate the hook point in order to drive that wire through a fish's face. That hook is like $5 retail. What? Gamakatsu 310 415 hook. It's not going to break. They have this little rubber collar. You have to cut that off. Whatever. A straight conical point, like $2 retail-ish. And it's worth it too, because you can re-sharpen that point, unlike the Tiemco. It's not directly to the eye, but it's at such an angle where it doesn't want to come out, but it doesn't want to dig too much or too deep into the fish. They welded the eye closed. The eye is welded closed. So guys like me who tie and then get their stupid thread, like in that gap right there, see the gap? This guy, it's welded. What's up? This is the Tiemco 8/0, and it's got roughly the same gap as, and I'll adjust it to where it's very straight. It's got roughly the same gap in it that the Tiemco 600 SP has. This hook here, that's a 5/0. By far my favorite hook out there. This hook is a Gamakatsu 310 415 super heavy cover hook. It comes with this little piece of rubber on there. You just slice it off and then you pull the rubber off. Sometimes you'll have a little bit of glue inside that little flat spot right there. Just take the razor blade. This is 100-pound leader material. And this is just like 5 inches or so. And then you get your lighter and you melt this. You're gonna melt it until you get a nice flared end on it. I just let it burn out. Maybe not let it burn out. All you're doing is you're stopping the thread from going over your over the end. Make sure this is, oh, it's not cold. Okay, you're gonna take your thread and you're just gonna pinch the end of this. I'm gonna take a look at my jaundiced fingers. So you slide the thread underneath your thumb. I'm just gonna scoot it forward here. And then advance that, where we're at, right there, all the way to the end and wrap back over it. And who cares about this other piece of thread? So that's how you start it. So you're gonna need some schlappen. Now this is standard 5 to 7 inch schlappen. This is really good stuff. This is longer than what it should be, I think. What I look for is really fluffy ones. There we go, there's a couple of really fluffy ones. It just got 2 feathers, but they're really fluffy feathers. There's a point in here where you can see the quill. So this is the quill section. Then it tapers off into the stem, which starts right about here. Now that's where that fly is, or that feather is really flexible. So you want to tie this in just behind that quill. That way your thread kind of pinches that off and holds it in place a little better. And then you're going to drop that in right where that quill ends. It's about right there. And no, I don't cut anything off. I'm sorry. But I'm totally not sorry. So get that, I put my fingernail right behind it like this. And I pull it very hard to pinch that quill down. So now you do the same thing to the other side. Now I can't see crap. And these are a little out of whack. Perfectly okay. This is a musky fly, and it's a very utility musky fly. This is not a pretty fly. And most of the flies you'll see me tie are just that way. They're utility. They're not for putting up on your mantelpiece and telling everybody that they should be proud of you for tying it. So you cut those ends off, and I just slid my scissors underneath there and zipped them off. And you have all this crap here still. Yeah, it's crap. You don't need it. Nobody needs that kind of crap. You get your thread down, see where the thread is, and then literally start swinging it like a little baby, and you spin it. Don't hit yourself in the face. I would really suggest not doing that. And you're going to use your fingers to kind of push it back and forth over the feathers. See? It's messy, but it does the trick. You're covering all this up with other stuff, so no need to worry about any of that. We're literally going to put 1/2 inches over the tops of the feather. Literally, you grab a bunch and see it. Yeah, there you go. Now you can see it. So I'm taking the feathers and just pushing them through that loop and pulling it tight. Hard as hole, and just you know, sometimes I just want to take the bottle and pour it on here. So now you can do one of two things with this. You can either A, tie it on a stick and play with your cats, or B, tie it onto this hook, which is what we're gonna do. Because I don't have any cats. It's 150 denier Vivus GSP. You wrap it from where you tie it in all the way to the eye, then you wrap it back over itself. That's it. All we're gonna do is spiral wrap this back. Trust me, there's a reason for spiral wrapping right now. We're gonna go just in front of the point of the hook, which is just where the hook starts to bend. And you're gonna take your little feathery guys and the mono side of it, and you're gonna tie this in 4 or 5 times. Now this is loose, so I can scoot it in and out. You're gonna grab 2 more and try to make these kind of long with a nice long section of fluffiness in them. Now what you do is you just grab them by the ends here, on the butt ends, and put it to where the thread, where you're gonna tie them in. So it's gonna be right about there. So I want this fluffy stuff to kind of be hidden within that fluffy stuff. So I take these feathers out. I do not tie them in yet. And this is where everything gets screwed up. So come up to the top, get your leader and wrap your thread under your leader 3 or 4 times. One more. And drop everything. Now pull it back and wrap over the top. And you're gonna wrap on what you just wrapped onto the leader pretty tightly here. So now we're gonna spiral wrap it forward till we get to about center. Then we're gonna do it again. 1, 2, and you'll notice things scooting around. It's because this is GSP. You're gonna wrap over those threads again. Just gonna hold it in place a little better. Wrap forward one more time. You're gonna stop about 1/4 of an inch before the eye. And you're gonna do it one more time. Now this is going to be all nice and neat. And then cut off the end here. It does not cut the easiest in the world. And I don't like using crimping style cutters because you'll flare out the tip of that thread. Okay, so now, see how we got that tied in there? We're gonna spiral wrap back over all this madness. And do it one more time in the back. Now this also helps kind of stand those feathers up. So everything's good. So you get these guys now, the feathers that you picked out to tie your other fly, or to tie your other section of tail. And these will go on the side really easily because you made a flat surface with that monofilament. Get it nice in there. So we're going to tie these in the same fashion. So see how that's a nice smooth taper back there? This is Mirage Polar Flash Opal. It's crinkly. 10, 20, 30-ish pieces. I'm going to go tie this in at just about the length of the tail. Now I'm going to get a little portion of bucktail here. Now we're not trying to fill this up with bucktail. I'm just using a little tiny piece. I mean, that might be 1/4 of an inch where it's pinched off. And now this is only going to be tied in halfway around the hook. We're not going all the way into the bend of the hook. So I just put 3 turns in there and I'm just going to push this stuff around. Because it's GSP, you want to hold on to the butts of this or else it'll spin like mad. So you just wrap it a couple times, get it nice and tight in there, and then you spread it out over that hook. So now, because you use less material here, you're going to do it more than once. So you get this all back there, and then you tie a dam in front of it, and this is really what controls your taper, is this little dam in front. And I'll tie really, really tight down here at the bottom of the taper and then loose at the top. And that'll give you a little bit more control over where your hair goes, because you're probably going to end up gluing all this together. That is quite all right. This is an acceptable empty spot, and it'll be empty all the way on the bottom of the shank of the hook. Now, everybody's going to differ in opinions, so I'm just going to leave it at that. I just like having a clear path to the hook point. That's all I'm saying. We're going to do 2 pieces or 2 clumps of bucktail in here. And we're just using enough to cover the thread. God, this stuff is super staticky. This buck did not condition enough. On this one I tied it back a little too far. You know, GSP is super cool because you can push it forward, kind of flare that out a little bit. And you're literally just pushing the dam back. And you'll notice that I'm literally flattening this out to where it'll wrap around the top of the hook when I wrap thread around it. And you'll be left with that little fold in the top, which is where you're going to start your next wrap of bucktail. Okay, so your next section of bucktail, again, keep it small, keep it relatively even to what you did before, because then you'll start disrupting the flow of water around the bucktail, quite literally. If you use a lot in the back, you'll have a negative pressure zone in the back, and it'll want to like flare everything behind the tie. So wrap this forward up to just advance it just past that little lump in the flash. Tie your tips in just enough to where they cover the There's one. You see a lot of people use pens and stuff to kind of push that hair back. I like doing it with my hands because you can feel where you have your thick spots. And I think one of the most important parts of tying hollow fly style, reverse tying your bucktail, is that you wrap perpendicular to the hook. So if you're wrapping to one side or the other, that one side of the fly is going to stick out or be pushed in, just because it's allowed to go free on the loose side of things, and it's restricted on the tight side of things. So we're going to do this one more time, mixing the silver hollow flash with the polar flash. So again, we're just going to get these together, and they're going to dance the night away. Dancing the night away. 32. There's 32 pieces of flash in here. So again, I'm going to sit here and just kind of work it out to where it's a nice wide thing of flash. And we're going to go just a little shorter than we did the last time. Lay that in right here. There you go. And now we're going to change colors of bucktail. So I'm going to switch over to gray, just kind of to blend it into the black that's going to be the head. I'm going to get a little bit bigger of a portion of this, or this group of bucktail. Now I'm going to get another piece, about yay much, and I'm going to tie this on the underside. Now I just find it a little easier to do this in two parts. Now before I go any further, you can still see the thread through there. You just have to protect that. Set your fly upside down, bloosh it in there. I just invented that word, blooshing. Everything is going to be nice and rugged. Glue is safe in a giant fly. And if it really screwed things up, you can always cut it off. Or a Musky's going to do that for you. Either way, winning. But you want to make sure this is all underneath. Everything is 100%, 360 degrees around this hook. There we go. I just poked my finger. Black polar flash here. And you want to tie in your flash before you tie in any feathers. Simple answer is that your flash is going to smash down your feathers. So now you're going to get schloppen. Just typical black schloppen. You can find it at any fly shop if they're worth their salt. Weight in salt if they're salty. You're going to tie that in to where it's going to give it a kind of a shell back. And right in front of the flash, where we tied in that flash, is where the next clump of bucktail is going to come in. So now I get a nice, healthy chunk of black bucktail. We're going to tie it on top and tie it on bottom. So you're going to push more water with the head than you will with the tail of the fly. And a good way to make sure it's even distribution is to look at the front. And if it's not even, you can sit here and literally just move it around until it's in the right place. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so whip finish. Pull backwards on the fly. Instead of whip finishing to where you pull down on it, you want to whip finish to where you pull backwards. It's going to get the whip finish tighter. We're going to use clear cure goo, and I'm just going to coat this. These are the clear cure goo temp eyes, and I'm going to stick them on the sides and hold them with my finger. Put them on there the way you want to orient them. Then turn your curing light on here. Peel these off. Cure it again. Now what you just did is you created flat sides with this clear cure goo for which to attach the super glue. So now I'll apply the super glue to the eye itself so I keep it from getting all over my materials. Just put a couple of drops in here. So I filled in the gaps there in the eyes. You can kind of see that in between and underneath. And now I'm going to coat this whole thing with clear goo. And hit it with your light. I use fingernail hardener that I buy from the dollar store. It's pretty easy to come by. And you're going to want to work really quickly and very efficiently with this stuff. You don't want it to sit in one place very long because it actually breaks down the clear goo and then hardens via air. So you just want to kind of touch it on the surface and just work really quick. And it'll level itself out as well. That's it. All you need to do is wait for this thing to dry, and it's very hard. I like to stick the hook through something and hang it on, like a piece of cardboard or whatever. You are officially done with this fly. That's it. Thank you for watching today's episode of Fly Hacks. Now, once you tie this and you actually go fish it, somebody's going to say, you can't catch fish with those. You know what? Here's this. How's that? Boom, son!